Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Asher, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Steam Shuffle. Today we are taking a look at Forced Showdown, released on March 29th, just yesterday as of the recording of this video, so fairly new. And this one may end up being a little bit longer than some of the other ones because we're going to have a lot of mechanics to cover, so let's get right into it. What exactly is Forced Showdown? Well, it was developed by BetaDwarf, who are the ones who did the original Forced game, which I've never played. I am a bit intrigued by it from what I've read, and so I'm going to probably check that one out, but I have no idea what that one's like compared to this one. From what I understand, that's more of a co-op experience. This is a single-player game, so completely different, although some of the characters from that game are in this one. Forced Showdown is a twin stick, but it kind of feels like Diablo, except you move with the WASD keys, but it is a twin-stick shooter that has a deck-building element to it. The best thing I can relate it to would be Hearthstone, because it's very similar. It has the 2-card limit, you gain 1 mana crystal per turn, things like that. But it combines the two genres in a way that I've never really seen before. So, first thing we're going to do is take a look at the options menu, which is albeit fairly limited, but it does what it needs to do. So in visuals, you really just have the graphic preset that I've got set all the way up. If you actually look in here, though, there's quite a bit more than what I was expecting when it comes to heat distortion. I don't know exactly what that is, but it's there. Your AAs, your FXAA, SSAO. I don't know what vigneting is, and I don't know what varied area coloration is, although that one's kind of self-explanatory. And then your foliage, your critters, things like that. So it's definitely decent. Some of these I don't even know what they do. But you've got your options. And screen resolution, obviously, V-Sync, full screen, screen shake, blood and gore option. In case you're a bit squeamish, you can turn that one off. You have your separate audio sliders per sound effect. Always nice to see. I can't stand the, how do they do it, the like low, medium, high ones that I've seen some games do. Put sliders in, please. And fully rebindable keys. It also works wonderfully with a controller, so if that's more your jam, go for it. I've been actually playing with mouse and keyboard, and it works fine. I'm sure controller would be just the same. It is a twin stick, so those are 2 sticks, so it works out. But enough about that. Real quick, you'll also see the this Twitch button here. So what Forced Showdown has done is it's actually integrated Twitch in a really unique way. What it kind of enhances your gameplay from what I haven't tried it, but from what I understand, when you're streaming, the announcer actually helps you. Like he'll give you special power-ups and things like that. And it's because the game is a gladiatorial arena style combat, it makes sense thematically to put it in there, and I think it's just a really neat feature that I'm definitely going to have to try out on my Twitch probably at some point in the future. But that is there. I don't know exactly what it affects, but it is there if you want to try that out. So the first thing we're going to look at is the cards. This is your deck. There are 4 default characters. Each one plays vastly different than the other. So this first guy right here, Squire of Light, he has a channeled beam that gets stronger over time, and then it ends up shooting a really highly damaging blast out. He also has an AoE, and he has an immunity button. And this guy here, Volko, he's melee oriented. He uses a molten hammer, and he will do a whirlwind that you can upgrade to shoot fireballs out. He also has a 1-hit immunity, and then he has a ground pound. Stormbringer here is going to be your ranged guy. He's a bow and arrow user. He can charge up his arrow to go further. He has the right click, shoots out a more powerful arrow that's instant, and it also chains lightning to other people, and he can put a barrier on the ground that deflects other people out. And once one of the abilities that I found that he can stand, that it increases his shot timer. He also has a little pet that when you hit someone, that pet will go find them and does damage over time to them. And then Ravager, I have not tried at all, so I don't know what his whole deal is. I'll probably try him out in this video to kind of get a hold of it. So each character has class-specific abilities, these cards here, and then they have your neutrals. Again, very akin to Hearthstone in that regard, except this is not just a card game. Like, the cards are more of a side effect, and they help you out in the fight, but they're not the main focus. But you do build a deck of 30 cards. You can only have 2 cards per deck, and you have 3 different types: your consumables, your spells, and your upgrades. Consumables, they're going to be bound to your number keys 1 through 4, and they have on-use effects, but they do go away after you use them. Spells go off immediately in the card selection portion, and they have various effects. You have your heal, you have, this is going to be similar to like Unstable Portal. If you do play Hearthstone, you play it, it gives you a random card, a random spell, or random upgrade. With this one, out of the entire game, and it costs less mana to play it. And some of them summon minions to help you when you're fighting. This little squire guy, I don't think he really fights, but if he survives the entire round, next round you have more damage. There's a whole lot of cards from what I've seen thus far, and I'm actually going to show the process of getting new ones as well. You don't buy them like you would in Hearthstone. You do earn in-game currency to unlock more, and there are 3 different levels: the common, rare, and epic. I don't remember what they called it. They didn't call it epic. They called it something else. And then you have your class-specific cards. If I can get them to pull up. There we go. And these are only going to apply to the hero that you have selected. So these are only going to affect their abilities in particular. I have the most experience with the Lightbringer. What is his name again? Yes, sorry, it's on the screen. Squire of Light. He's kind of a paladin, so I'm going to call him the paladin. That's who you start with, and you have to unlock the other 3. And he's kind of, I think he would be a good. I can see why they used him, because he's really good for beginners. He's really easy to understand, and he has that immunity damage. And the other guys like Volko, I get destroyed when I try to play him because he's melee, and it's a twin stick, especially in the fact that you have to dodge a lot of bullets and projectiles, things like that. Melee can't do that very well, so each character has their strengths and weaknesses easily. It's going to really depend on what your play style is, and maybe even what cards you have unlocked, which ones you want to use. I'm really liking Stormy. I just unlocked him, so that's not Stormy's cards. That's Stormy's cards. This is the other dude. This is Ravager. But I usually like the range characters, at least the hunter type classes. So I'm kind of biased in that sense, but other than that, it's really going to be whatever you want to play, and I have enjoyed the other ones for what they are. Volko's just really hard to use. Each one does start with a default deck, so if you don't want to craft your own, you want to use that, awesome. They're pretty rounded out from what I've seen, and I like if you don't name it, it says deck I didn't care to name, so there's that too. We're going to build a Ravager deck real quick. Just kind of show you the process. Deck I didn't care to name. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Alright, so let's grab 2 of those, 2 of those, 1 of those, and 2 of those, because they're the class cards and I don't even know how they're going to really affect me. This is kind of more trial and error. You're really going to have to play that class before you're going to think of which ones you want to use and which one you don't. I like Rush for the first 15 seconds of each arena. 15% increased damage. You can really get in there and tear stuff up pretty quick. I do like the Shinies. Yeah, it adds that random element to your deck, but that 2 less mana really helps, and it could be cards that you don't have, and you cannot get any other way. Shields are useful if you use the right one. A shield is you get 1 free hit to you, and you don't die. So, but I don't like that one. I'll show you the one that I do take. I'm going to take the Squire Puff there, and Dual Bots. I like the Dual Bots. Those are pretty nice. I don't care for the Bomb Drone. 100 damage to 1 random enemy really isn't that much, at least from what I can tell. This one, Paranoid. So start every shield with an arena. The other one is just a one-time use. I like that one quite a bit. Grab the heals. The heals are invaluable, and knowing when to use them in the fight is crucial to your success. I don't really care for Mind Bend too much. If I have a lot of low-cost cards, yeah, I spend them really quickly, but it doesn't happen too often. Crit chance, amazing. We'll take the increased health. Just take 1 though. And I like the fairies. They're a really good oh shit button if things are really getting out of hand. The cleaver, if you get that far, that's going to be almost the end before you fight the boss. And I'll get to that. It'll make more sense. But Just one of those should be fine. You're not really going to get a chance to play a second one. Take the ability bolt. I don't like Wrecking Ball that much because I don't feel like I get a chance to use it very much. And we've got 6 more cards that we can get. So what do we take? Well, how about a couple of mana boosts? The Nano Med Injector's pretty nice. Flash of Anger. A couple mirror matches. Alright, so there's our deck. There's our 30 cards, and those are the ones that we're going to take into battle. Alright, so let's check out how you actually get cards. So it's going to be this button down here, this Fortune button. Card shards are dust, if you will, that you can craft a random card. So we're going to do that first. There we go. So I got another comeback kit. I already have one of those. You earn gold by playing through the game, playing the different arenas, and it costs 100 gold to spin every single time. It'll show this wheel, it'll spin across the screen, and you have a chance of getting not one, but sometimes, like we just did, we just got 2 rare cards on that spin. I kind of like that one. That's actually really nice. Oh, the nuke. I've used that one other time. That does exactly what it says. It destroys every single creature on the field. So if you want to get through an arena quickly, you pop that, everything's going to die. Spin it again. Hollow Banisher. Alright, destroy the nearest summoned enemy. Recover, enemy has less than 50% health. And recover, get the charge back. So I like how it doesn't make me guess what some of these effects are. It's very nice. It tells me exactly on the card what it does. This guy's kind of cool. He's a 0 mana, summon a Spellweaver Puff. If it survives, draw 1 spell card for each extra mana spent. Consumes all your mana for an improved effect. Alright. Spin the wheel, spin it to win it. Got us another rare. Righteous Replay. Each arena gain a fading replay consumable. Recharge it when Stormy gets a kill. So that is for Stormbringer only. What else we got in here? Another Spellweaver Puff, alright. Spin it to win it. Had a little bit of lag there. Alright, Gathering Storm. Storming gains increased damage against an enemy the longer he is attached to it. So again, for Stormbringer, it's a class specific. I already had a copy of that one though. Spin it. Alright, Food Chaining. This is going to be for Ravager. Hitting an enemy with Strafe lashes all nearby enemies for 15 damage. So that's actually probably pretty handy. But I really don't want to mess with the deck that we already made. And you do that every single time. So every time you get gold, you spin it. I'm not sure how many cards are in the game. Thus far, there's at least 100, I believe, that I've gotten. And I'm sure there's way... Oh, it says there at the bottom, I own 14% of the commons, 20% of the rares, and 5% of the supremes. So I would imagine there's about 350, probably, right around there, maybe. Maybe more. So a lot of variety. Each character plays very differently, and depending on how you make your deck, even that character can play differently from someone else's. So a lot of customization, and I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. The character design itself is pretty awesome too. I'm going to do the Crucible because this is your main game mode. You pick the different event that you want to do, and you go through the arenas until you get the boss. The second one here, I'm kind of stuck on. Still getting slaughtered in it, so I'm going to have to work on that one later. This is not the easiest game in the world. It's very difficult and sometimes unfair, I feel, depending on what buffs that particular arena that you chose gets, or debuffs rather. I had one that I had increased damage, but there was a 20% chance that every time I dealt damage, it would do 2 damage to me. Well, I was playing Mr. Paladin guy, and his beam is a constant channel, and it ticks really rapidly. So I'm slaughtering myself, and I have really no other way to kill anybody. So that was really rough. So depending on what combination of buffs and debuffs you get in each arena, some of them may almost be impassable, similar to like some of the blue packs back in the old Diablo Inferno days. Like, you just can't kill them. I mean, it's almost impossible. There's really good voiceover work in this. The bosses have their unique voices. They're actually fairly entertaining, and then each character is voiced differently as well. I ran across, I think, 5 different main bosses so far. There could be more that I just haven't found yet. And it's this game is oozing creativity. I've never played anything like this. The only thing that comes to mind would be maybe Hand of Fate, which has a deck builder situation that's similar, but not quite. But that does combine an action game with deck building, similar to this one does. You've got your companions over here. These guys they can die, but they'll come back in each arena. And I've been using this one more than the other one because he flies away and doesn't get killed. So Brutus seems to kind of die a little bit, but we're going to go with Brutus because the two of them just look like they're ready to wreck stuff. So I'm going to take the deck that I didn't care to name, and we're going to run in and try this out. Load times are fairly lengthy, I will say that. It does take a little bit to load each encounter. Well, at least when you start, it takes a little bit, but even when you start the next arena, they can take a little bit of time. Alright, so this cutscene's basically just, oh, welcome another contester. So there's not much story to this. The premise is you are a galactic gladiator, you're on TV, and you're doing this for the fans. Hence the Twitch integration that's thematically appropriate, actually. Let me look at this guy real quick. So he's going to be a melee guy. We've got the right click is a leap. Leap forward and pounce your foe. Uses all frenzy and deals in extra damage for each frenzy. Oh wow, that jumps really far. Okay. Strafe, dash forward, avoiding harm and slicing all enemies in the path. Each frenzy spent reduces cooldown by 1 second. And Enrage, 50% attack speed for 4 seconds. Movement penalty when attacking is removed. Cooldown is reduced when frenzy is gained. Okay. Look at your stats here. Pretty basic. You got health, movement speed, block chance, which will negate damage. It has a 5% chance to do that. Your overall damage, your attack speed, and your critical strike chance. So these actually get permanent modifiers to them when you start going down this quest line. I've knocked out all of these thus far, so every quest that I can complete is going to be in frontline or higher. Gives you gold, and this particular one, whatever it is, it gives you permanently plus 10 health to your characters. Win a battle without playing any spells. That one should be pretty easy, and then defeat Grawl in frontline. So that's going to be one of the bosses, and that'll give me the plus 10 health and then the 400 gold. And that's a pretty big jump. When I beat this one, it usually gives me about 600 gold, so an extra 400 on top of that would be quite a bit. So this is how this works. You have a choice of 4 different arenas that you go in. Each one has a different boss in it, and each one has different conditions in it, different modifiers. You have to beat 2 before you can progress. I do not like that it doesn't really tell me what these are until after I've chosen it. So you can get an idea of what it is, but you don't, unless you've done it a lot, you don't know exactly how this affects you. So I've done Lightning Rod before. I feel confident in that one. We're going to jump into the Lightning Rod. This is one of the things I was saying takes a while to load. The captain is one of the 4 or 5 bosses that I've encountered thus far, and they do actually play against you. They will play their own cards that affect each individual arena that you go through, and then they will also have an ability that they use. I don't like the captain. The captain is irritating. He drops mines on the ground, and it's a pain in the ass, but we're going to do what we can. So at the start, you mulligan your hand to pick the ones that you want to start with. I don't think I want the minor heal quite yet, and Blood Claws were way too early to use that because you start with 1 mana, and then each arena you pass, you get another mana crystal. So the arena 2 is 2 mana, arena 3 is 3 mana, and so on and so forth. So we're going to keep that one and that one, drop those 2, and arena 1. Alright, so I got a 2 cost and a 4 cost. I think I'm going to save that mana boost because on arena 3, I'll be able to use the killing spree. So we're going to use that one. We're going to start up. The arenas do get more difficult the further you get in them. So the first one's usually pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I've got 5 stacks of this frenzy here. And push that button. There we go. He died. Ravager seems a lot more complex than Paladin Dude or even the other 2 that I've played. Maybe not. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but he's not as straightforward. He's got different passives. So again, it's kind of twin sticky. You do move around and you have your different abilities that I keep on getting an Assault Android Cactus vibe from it. One from the art style and two from the humor in it. But then you have the deck building elements in it as well. So I'm enjoying it quite a bit. But again, it's not the easiest game that I've ever played. That's for sure. We're going to pop the dual bot. The dual bot is one of the consumables. So you'll see that button that popped down there on the bottom of the screen. That number 1. I got one use on him. It pops out little robots that help me kill stuff. So if things are getting a little out of hand, which that's a lot of dudes, we're going to use them. Alright. Mini-bots go! Leap! The melee guys I feel like they need to stay out of combat and jump in and out of combat too much. Whereas the other two, the Paladin and Stormbringer, they can stand back and dish out quite a bit of damage. You'll see the counter in the top right hand corner. That is when he can use his next ability. And these mines are what he drops. He does that if you're going up against a different boss. He'll have different entry hazards. And there we go. Took him out. Roger seems alright. I feel like he has enough movement to get in and get out. So he's not as bad as the fiery guy. I can't remember his name. But I had a really hard time playing as him. Alright, so my basic attack per stack of Frenzy now is going to be increased by 15%. So now it kind of becomes a, do I want to burn my Frenzy stacks off now or do I want to wait? Because now it hits really hard. There we go. And whoop, mine. This is a little bit difficult to commentate while playing. There's a lot of stuff that'll be going on the screen at once. Sometimes I kind of lose track of where I'm at, and some things can damage them as well as me, so it's a little bit difficult to tell the difference sometimes. Oh, this is not good. Ah. Ooh, did it 100 to him. Nice. I'm going to use the mines to my advantage here. There we go. With the Paladin guy, I tend to be much more aggressive. The melee ones, they feel like you have to kind of wait and pick your battles more because the Paladin dude can go invincible and blow everything up around him. I mean, it's the other guys just don't have as much, what's the word I'm looking for? Much survivability. All right. That's one of those extra ones that I was telling you about. Plus 90% companion health. That would make Brutus last a lot longer. Now let's do that one. We're going to give Brutus way more health. So go get him, Brutus. Alright. Jump in, smack. The blue orbs that are dropping, those are your points. At the end of each arena, if you beat it, it will give you an option for a boon. I believe the points determine how many boons you can take. If you get enough, you get your next boon. And that's not good. So, I have gotten 2 at the end of arena before. I believe that's what the points are for. I could be wrong. That's the only thing I can that I think they're for. But you get them even on the final boss, which they don't really do anything at that. They could be determining factors as to how much gold you get from each arena that you beat. That could be it as well. That's really the main thing I'm unclear on, is exactly what the points affect. There we go. Boy, I'm not doing too well. I really need to draw one of those heal cards. I'm rocking 11 health right now. What else we get? Rushing Fury, that does not really help. I'm going to take the crit chance. We're just going to be really, really cautious. Come on. Come on. Get in there, Brutus. Take care of them. Oh, there's a little bit of health. The green orbs obviously are health. I believe they restore 7 each from what I can tell each time you pick one up. So they don't... Shit. He got me. But there you go. There's a whole arena run. I died on the very first one. So it'll go back to the beginning and you try to do it again. If you beat the whole arena and beat the boss and then you die on another one, you will still get gold for the one you did beat, but if you don't beat any, like I just did, you don't get anything. Like, absolutely nothing. Why don't we try the Crucible one more time, and I'm going to show off Stormy, because I like Stormy quite a bit. I don't have a specific deck for him yet. I'm just using the default. I haven't really tinkered with one. We're going to give him a shot, and I want to show you how different these characters are. Skip through that. Thank you very much. The little cloud guy, that's the damage over time that affects anything that I shoot. It affects the last enemy that I shot. And you see these are completely random again. They're not the same as they were when I was doing it with Ravager. And that'll be true every time. I think the arenas are random as well, from what I can tell. I've went through so many of them. Maybe I've went through the same one, but I don't believe I have. The enemy placement as well as the actual layout itself, it's completely random every time you go through it. So there's a lot of replayability here. I've put 5-6 hours into this already, and I'm not even close to being bored with it. I'm actually having quite a bit of fun. Quite a bit indeed. I don't want the bomb drone. Paranoid, it's not for... Well, actually, I could do that on turn 2 because I got the mana boost. I don't need to heal this early, though. So we'll drop those. And... pop the Squire. Alright. Let's go, little Squire. Actually, I could have got a shield on turn 1. That may have been a better option. Alright, so his basic attack is this arrow right here that you charge up, and the longer you charge, the further it goes. Hits really hard, but he cannot attack in very quick succession, so that's kind of what you're giving up with him. Those bolts of lightning that I shot just now, that's his right click, and I cleared that out without even getting touched, even once. Stormy is very powerful, and I really like playing him. The enemy typing, from what I've seen, is really, really well done. There's at least 15-20 different enemies that I've ran across thus far. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the enemy types are determined by whatever boss you're going up against. They have their own set that's with them, but I could be wrong on that. I think maybe it's more, since the levels are random, the theme of them are random. So this is more of like a sewer-esque level. The sewer-esque levels have a specific mob types associated with that. But every now and then, I mean, I came across one that I had never seen here not too long ago, and I thought I'd seen them all in that archetype. So I could be wrong on that. I know that each level is themed, or at least each arena is themed. So it's hard to say. It's enough to keep me guessing, though, and it keeps it interesting, because I don't ever know what I'm going up against. The second show that I have yet to beat, that one actually has well, it depends. In that room where you pick the 4 to go try to beat, some of them have more than one modifier. And sometimes those modifiers are beneficial to you. Other times they screw you over, like that with that malicious blade. I could see with Stormy, since he has very large attacks but doesn't attack very quickly, he could probably handle that way better than the Paladin dude, because that Paladin guy, it's a tick like every half second. With Stormy, it's like every 3 seconds I shoot a shot off. So big difference. And if I could see what they were before I did them, I could make more of an informed decision based on my character which ones I should tackle, because there's 4 of them, but you only have to beat 2 of them to go on. So being able to pick the right one for you would be much needed information, in my opinion. Now, keep in mind, BetaDwarf is actively releasing more updates and more content for this. So the 4 characters that are in here, some people, I think, will want more than just the 4. So thus far, I've got the 2 that I do like and the 2 I don't really play too much. But with the deck building, it's, yes, you have 4 characters, but you have many different archetypes that you can run with those 4 characters. So it feels like more than just the 4. You have the main basic abilities, yes, and once you put a whole lot of time in it, I could see why it may get a little bit old, because there's going to be more of a more optimal build. But some of these some of these modifiers change things like mana cost of different cards and things like that. So there is no perfect build. There can't be. There's too many variables in play to say that there is a perfect build for any of the characters. It's really going to be based on what hand you get dealt. Again, why I think it should be shown exactly what you're getting into before you select that arena. But I could see them releasing more characters in this and more bosses, more archetypes, more cards. And this game I see having a very long future, especially with the Twitch streaming background and community that this is beginning to develop because of the Twitch integration in it. The one of the things that they did with this is if they got a certain amount of hours watched on Twitch, they would lower the price. And thus far, from what I saw, there was over 100,000 hours watched. So on launch, they gave a 12% discount. Base is $19.99 for this, and I picked it up for the 12%. Although while I was in game, it did pop an announcement up on the screen that said now 14% off. So I'm unsure if this is an ongoing thing. Like, will it get cheaper the more people that watch it or what? So you might want to keep an eye on that if you plan on getting this picked up. Don't wait too long because I don't know how long they're going to run this contest, but kind of watch and see if price is an issue for you, if you can get a little bit more of a discount on it by waiting and seeing what happens. Man, I'm flying through this arena with Stormbringer here. Like, no problem at all. Alright, so this is going to be one of the boss fights. This is Frank. Frank is composed of parts of a lot of different things. And each one of these bosses that you go up against are vastly different. The pirate one that I died on earlier, he has a whole lot of AoE damage that he's shooting out. He flies up in the air, has beams that he shoots out. Frank here just got blasted into a million pieces. And now he's going to flood the area. We'll be back in a moment here. There he is. Alright, Frank. Let's pop a couple of these consumables that I got. Just for shits and giggles. And we're going to do some work. Oh, not going to hit me with that. One of the other characters, he's I can't remember his name. He's like a rock dude. We dispatched him, no problem. But he's like an old man. And he's constantly making quips about you whippersnappers these days don't know what it's like to actually level and things like that. He's hilarious. Tells me to get off his lawn. But each boss has some of them more personality than others. The snake dude's pretty boring. He's a god or whatever, and he's just kind of meh. But the pirate guy is pretty funny. What is it? Ratbo, the exterminator. He's great. He's awesome. Alright, so here's the boons that I was talking about, that those points that you get. I believe it affects how many you get at the end of each arena. And these are permanent for this run and this run only. So I usually like to start out with the health globe drop rate because there's not very many of them, and that seems to help out quite a bit. And how about +1 mana in the first card phase? I'm just going to take the 8% damage. Those are usually the two. If those two are available, those are the ones I go for. Once I beat another one of these, this door will unlock, and then there's going to be a second floor. I'll beat 2 more, and then finally you'll beat the main event boss, and he is the same every time. And you'll beat it, you'll get your gold, you go open up more packs, and that's pretty much the gist of it. There's quite a bit mechanically going on here, but really when you put it all together, it's not very difficult to understand. But it has enough elements to it and enough customization to it that I could see myself putting hundreds of hours into this if it continues to be updated with more characters, more cards, more bosses, more arenas. One last thing that I do want to show you, we're going to concede this one, is the daily challenge. So this game has no multiplayer to speak of whatsoever right now. One thing I think it would benefit from greatly would be the inclusion of co-op. I think co-op in this would be awesome. Increase the amount of enemies or something like that, and maybe even specific buffs or debuffs that only affect co-op mode. Just even not 4-player because that would get crazy, but just 2 people. I think that would be really fun in this, and I think it's something that hopefully will be added in the future because it would really benefit from. But the last thing we're going to look at here is the season mode. This is that daily list. So the season, it's a leaderboard style daily quest that you can do, which you can repeat, at least maybe not all of them, but the one that's up currently, you can repeat it, and it's based on how many points you get, and it will rank you. So the first time I did the current daily, I think I ranked, it was like 171 out of 300, so there weren't a lot in it, but perhaps it doesn't put you in everything. Maybe it puts you in like a pool of players, and I'm not really sure. This pool is showing 1,000 players, and maybe it's not one to load for me. Viewing your top 10. Streamers only. Man, they're really going all out on this Twitch thing. Daily, equality daily, one try dailies. It's not letting me do it. I did notice right before I started recording that it had to connect to the server for some reason. The servers may be overloaded. This game did just come out, so I don't know why this isn't coming up. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you, but the one that I did earlier, it's a themed deck. It's completely random themed deck, and it has to do with explosions. Lots and lots of explosions. So that was pretty fun. So the daily quest, I feel like they're going to be kind of like your tavern brawls in Hearthstone. I know I keep comparing this to Hearthstone, and the card aspect of this game is so similar to it. Based on how you accrue mana, the 2 limit, the 30 deck. I mean, it really feels like it drew a lot of inspiration from that, which is not a bad thing. I mean, Hearthstone is an amazing CCG. But it's just it's all over it. It's written all over this thing. Well, I guess we're not going to look at that. I apologize. It's not loading up for me. I was hoping we could show that off, but other than that, I think we've given a pretty good synopsis analysis of Forced Showdown on here. Available for $19.99 or your regional equivalent on Steam. Currently, it's 14% off. Last time I checked, this looks like your jam. I highly recommend it. And until then, my name is Asher. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.